Like I said, we have a quick change to the agenda, which is that the next two panels will not be in two separate rooms. And we actually only have Aaron here from the Idaho, Oregon, and Washington panel. So we have a number of people, though, that will be joining us online. So let me introduce the different people that will be here to discuss this. We have Ray from Tlingit and Haida. We have Oxiana, who's from Alaska Native Tribal Health Consortium. We have Karen Pletnikoff, who is from Aleutian Pribilofs Islands Association. We have Sarah Ingram, who is also from Alaska Native Tribal Health Consortium. We have Gina McKindy, who is also from Alaska Native Tribal Health Consortium. We have Tasha Makta, same organization. We have Willow Hetrick from Chugach Regional Resources Commission. We have Anama Shannon from Coeric Incorporated. And just a quick note that both Ray and Aaron are co-chairs of the RTOC. So if those of you that are here, if you want to sit, I can pass a mic down to you all. You can take a seat there. And then I think we have people joining us online as well. And Christy is going to moderate this session for us. And so thank you. Yeah, we'll get a few mics up here. And Christy, you can take it away when you're ready. Welcome up here. All right, careful everybody with the cords. Okay, thank you.
Thank you all. This is a very quick change. So while we have such an amazing group of folks from different regional consortium, we wanted to take this opportunity to really expand on some of what Ray was talking about with our cooperative work and our collaborations. And so the first question I kind of want to pose to the group is, what do you feel with the organizations that you represent? What do you feel is your strength and something that you really want folks in this room and virtually joining us? What would you like them to know when they need to reach out to you or want to reach out to you? Let's start there.
Okay, I will go first. I'm Oxiana with ANTHC. I think that Christy, one of our strengths that at ANTHC is that our vision is that Alaska Native people are the healthiest people in the world, and that guides our work every day. On our team right here, during our meetings, we remind each other of that all the time, and that is what we're working for. And it guides us to really connect with our people statewide. Even though we're a statewide organization, it's kind of hard to say that we have one focus because our Alaska is so diverse. So we have to really bring in all of our knowledge together collaboratively, share with each other, and then figure out how to be able to reach out to community and bring community together.
Yeah, they're a huge organization. So
good morning, Aaron Miles, Nez Perce Tribe. I think our strength for our tribe is really our technical staff. We've built our infrastructure, our capacity at the tribe, and which is really lent to our leadership in when they represent at different forums, whether it's AT&I, NCAI. The tribe has been very active in pushing forward on a number of fronts for recovery of endangered species, things that have been important to us that we don't see as out of our ability to recover for our Aboriginal territory. And so we feel like it's our duty, just based upon our legend stories you know, that the animals would be at this point in time where they would need us as the human beings to be able to speak on their behalf. And so that's where we're at. And you know, that's a common goal for, you know, like all of our staff.
And Aaron, if I could ask you a small follow-up question. In your role on the RTOC, how do you feel that your work with the tribe helps to inform sort of how you approach collaborative relationships within the RTOC?
Well, yeah, I think with our talk, you know, our role in our talk is to be able to facilitate and help, you know, represent each of our areas, but also support one another. If you look at the Alaska Native tribes, I mean, I've learned a lot just, you know, interacting, and I hear the struggle, what they need in Alaska, and it seems like the canary in the mine situation in Alaska, and we're just right on the other. It's coming to us, and so we've got to be able to help where we can. And we've built these relationships not just among each other, but also with EPA staff. That's been a big deal for us to have long-standing relationships with the EPA staff. They're important to us, and being able to have the programming that the grants that we go after, or the funding, and be able to see where the policies are going. That's a big deal. So I think that's how we approach. It's really the human connection above and beyond everything else.
I'm going to pivot to Karen Plitnikoff, who is joining us virtually. So if you could kind of help us hear a little bit about where you feel APIA strengths are in this collaboration and cooperative stewardship type work.
Yeah, I'm glad I got a Kila, everyone. I'm Karen Pletnikoff. I'm the Environment and Safety Program Administrator at the Aleutian Bluff Islands Association. And I provide a lot of direct technical assistance to our tribe's environmental programs. I want to apologize if it's noisy in Seattle airport. But we think our strengths are trying to meet our tribes where they're at and give them the services they want. That's what we're hoping to do. And I really appreciated hearing that theme in the last sessions. Final speaker talking about how they want to be met and treated, and the service, how they want their services given to them, because all of the prerogatives are with our tribes, and we want to serve them in the way that works best for them where they are right now, and that's different for each tribe, that's different for each environmental program, and that's different for each environmental coordinator and their team. It changes over time. That's what keeps it so exciting and so fresh, even after many years.
Thank you. Let's go to Ray.
Didn't you have enough of me? Oh, sorry, question.
So same question, sort of, where do you feel Central Council's strengths are in the cooperative environment, especially as we're talking about the collaborations that we've seen here over the conference and statewide, and just.
Well, I kind of touched on that in the presentation.
You did.
Much of what, you know, again, what I think my strengths have been is mine and the tribes is to be able to ensure that we have that relationship development and ensuring that we're helping build up the capacity around the tribes in my region. But it also touches on the relationship that we have in RTOC. And so there's that part of it too that we as RTOC members and NTOC members have to do, is to ensure that we're reaching out to the people and meeting the needs, ensuring that we can bring back that voice or help you guys enhance your voice with the knowledge behind it. So yeah, kind of repeating a little bit of the presentation, but I'm hoping you guys get the gist on that. I think that's my strength.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Do we have?
I think, pardon me,
with our team, one of the areas that I think is very strong is that three of us on our team are from the villages, small villages in rural Alaska, and know firsthand the struggles that our people go through. And we give really a safe and open area for our tribal members to talk with us and help them in their needs in the communities. It's not always like that with the other programs in our department, so we build on that, sharing the knowledge with our other team members. And I would like to acknowledge my maternal grandfather's hometown, the Kuskokwim, the upper Calskag tribe is here, so thank you.
I would just like to kind of repeat what Gina and Oksana said, just because they hit everything perfectly. So,
And Tasha, you spent some time with the Yukon River Intertribal Watershed Council before this position. How has that helped you in sort of those relationship building opportunities within ANTHC?
I think it has been very beneficial. I was on maternity leave for a while, and then I ended up being a stay-at-home mom. So it was really great getting back with the community members and getting that relationship back. So it's been really great meeting new faces and seeing old ones too. So.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sarah Ingram, and my job within this team is to kind of handle more logistics for the projects and I guess you could say, events that we put on. And the biggest one is ATKIM, which I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with, knowing we have a lot of Alaskans up here. But yeah, I really appreciate these events that we do, especially ATKIM. There's such a special place in my heart for that event, because while it's not the largest environmental conference in Alaska, it is the largest tribal environmental conference in Alaska. And so we are bringing it, or at least one of our goals with the event is to bring it back to the original stewards of the land, and really connect them with service providers and hear their stories, while also kind of, bringing that connection between traditional knowledge and Western science, and just working together, kind of hitting on that partnership and the importance of that, because we can't do it alone. We have to work together to really address the environmental concerns that we see in our communities and whatnot. So I love being a part of that. I'm not Alaska Native, but I am an environmental person, and I'm an events person. So I love so much being involved in that.
And I'm going to give our other virtual panelists an opportunity to answer.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Good morning from Alaska. My name is Willow Hetrick. I'm the Executive Director, Chugach Regional Resources Commission. We are the intertribal consortia for the Chugach region. Ray, my friend, good to hear you. Oksana, Sarah, so nice to see you. Karen, hello. I love that beautiful rainbow behind you. Our intertribal consortia serves 7 tribes in Lower Cook Inlet and Prince William Sound. Those are Port Graham, Nanwalek, Katuchek Native Tribe and Seward, Chiniga, Tutitlik, the Valdez Native Tribe in Valdez, and Native Village of Eyak and Cordova. We have an IGAP program and are so thankful not only to the EPA, but also to our IGAP tribes of the Chugach. We have 5 IGAP tribes. We serve 2 tribes that are not federally recognized. And it is because of our tribes that we are able to have our regional program. One of our strengths of the regional program, I truly believe, is our mindset. And what drives us every day is making sure that we are integrating biocultural restoration into our work. And then also elevating the tribe's concerns, their needs, their wants, and most importantly, their successes. And in terms of the second question about what do you want people to know when they reach out to you, we want to know that we don't have barriers in our organization. We despise inter-Alaska politics. We are not competitors to our other regional consortia. We really want to be partners because we believe that we're all stronger together.
It's wonderful. Thank you. So I wanted to start there, but I also would like to know if anyone in the room has a question for this this wonderful panel of consortium folks. Does anybody? All right. Take the fun.
Hi, thanks for all your presentations and your input. I'm curious if you could please explain more about what you mean when you say biocultural.
Yes, definitely. I mean, you could look up the term online and you're going to get pages and pages and pages of responses of what biocultural restoration means. But it's a relatively new term, and we've adopted it mostly because I'm just going to be frank. The idea of traditional ecological knowledge and weaving indigenous knowledge into federal and state Western ideas has failed. And so the idea of biocultural restoration is to be sure that whatever we do that has to do with the environment, we don't forget that there's a direct cultural connection to said environment. And we honor that first, we honor it throughout, and we honor it last, because we believe that, for example, we can't remediate a wetland site or a site that's been contaminated fully until we know culturally what that site means, how, and just the general cultural importance to that site. Then and only then can the work begin, because in order to have ecosystem restoration, you have to have that cultural connection as well, and they can't be separate. That is our term. That's how we're expressing biocultural restoration.
That's great. And you absolutely need all of the tribes involved to know what to know the traditional territory and what the areas meant and how they were used. Thank you, Kanachish.
Can I just chime in? In many of our areas, we've also been removed from being able to access areas because of the contamination or because of land use restrictions or species loss. And so we have to also help define what that cultural connection is supposed to be. And so it's not only, unfortunately, still even today, too much of the time, they treat our cultures and our activities like they're all retrospective or retroactive. We only look towards the past. We also need to define for who we are today and what our needs are today moving into the future. So just love.
Other questions about what you heard?
I might just add that the idea of biocultural restoration, it's a tough one. It's hard for agencies to understand. It's hard for them to comprehend. A lot of times, a lot of our funders are very rigid. They're very strict. They're, stuck in the mud, if you will, or stuck in a rut, we like to say sometimes, but stick to your guns. It's important. Don't back down. Don't say, oh, I guess we can skip that component because the funding agency just really doesn't understand. Make them understand. And if you weave that into everything that you do, it's going to start to become the new normal, I think. And I'm not sure why, TEK and indigenous knowledge haven't really stuck, if you will. Seems like I don't want to get into it, but in our experience in the Chugach, it hasn't those buzzwords haven't provided a lot of teeth, and they haven't really provided a lot of support. They seem to be buzzwords that agencies use just to check the box. And we're finding that this idea of truly connecting the environment to the culture, not letting the agencies break those two apart, has been successful recently.
How many in this room are familiar with LEO, the local environmental observer network? Part of that work originally came from this desire for agencies to hear directly from folks and see those observations and have a space for those discussions to happen. It takes time, obviously, but there's also some work happening on the Yukon River Intertribal Watershed Council called the Indigenous Observation Network, and they are looking at a number of factors that are impacting the tribes of that watershed. And it's sort of another example of a consortium doing this work of sort of translating what the environmental conditions are, what the impacts are, and sort of quantifying those changes in a way that it also speaks to the need for the federal government to have the data points. So do we have other questions? Anybody? Oh, I see Bill.
Well, this is Bill again from Alaska. I just want to let people know that don't know that some of these consortiums were originated with the ANSCA Act, the federal law that I keep talking about, and I wouldn't be doing justice to my friends at ANTHC and some of the amazing work they do at those consortiums. I've talked heavily about what ANSCA law did to the tribes in Alaska, but one of the many good things we did get, one of the few good things we got from that law was the conception of some of these consortiums, because we have a lot of small tribes, and a lot of this work they do on our behalf is instrumental. So I always like to thank them when I get a chance, because I'm pretty harsh on ANSCA, but you guys are the only shining light that I have found through ANSCA. So thank you.
I just have a quick comment. I wanted to apologize that this is a very heavy Alaska Consortia panel. We did have somebody who had to leave earlier who was from the Portland Indian Area Health Board. I believe that's the correct title. But I was just speaking with Adam over here, and I asked him how many consortia Region 10 has. And if you could compare and contrast that to the rest of the regions in our country, just to see how really unique our region is and why we have so many. That's kind of a question for you, Christy, or the panel, whoever wants to address it.
I'm gonna have Ray start.
That's a tough question, a good question though too. First off, I want to acknowledge and say hi to Willow and Karen. It's good to see you guys. Thank you guys for being a part. Wow, I'm really trying to absorb that. That's a tough question, but I think it comes down to the fact that in Alaska, again, you've kind of guys got the idea now. There's a lot of tribes that just do not have the capacity or the resources. So my thought on that, and I think it's to ensure that we bring that capacity, that strength there, so the tribes can have that stronger voice and the knowledge of what they're saying behind it. Because, I mean, if you guys think about it, all this stuff out there, from funding requests to ensuring we're seeing new policy changes or policy that affects tribes, we're not always going to know that or see that. But with consortia or larger tribes that have the capacity, it makes things easier. Considering like us at RTOC, we are now a consortia status, but we are able to use what knowledge we have from the bigger group to be able to provide that to you guys. and ensure that we're, as we're learning, you guys are learning too, what that means, what policy changes affects, your gap grant, gap guidance, things of those nature. So I'm hoping I'm hitting the mark by saying that, ensuring that with all those consortia and the larger tribes that have it, is to ensure that we're providing you guys with the resources or the knowledge to ensure that you guys have a stronger voice.
And I'll share a little bit of my experience in working with other regions of EPA and sort of the lack of consortium at particularly the GAP table. So Region 10 is the largest body of tribes in the nation. And so part of the equation here is that we just have more tribes in total. Alaska being significantly different than any other part of the US. And one of the sort of factors is the way that funding flows to the region. Because we have such a large number of tribes, the funding allocation from headquarters allows us, once we've funded all the tribes, to potentially fund consortium. Other regions have a smaller pot of money because they have fewer tribes. And so there is this, there are very unique circumstances in Region 10 that put us in this position where we are able to fund consortium out of GAP. And that is highly unique.
And just to add to that too, so there are 575 federally recognized tribes in the United States. In Region 10, we have 271 of those federally recognized tribes. In Alaska, it's 227 federally recognized tribes. So yeah, it addresses kind of the need and the disparity for Region 10 to have those sources of funding.
And I just wanted to add a few more numbers real quick before the next person shares.
Thank you.
Adam confirmed we have 25 consortia in Region 10. The next biggest region is Region 9, and they have 2. We are highly reliant in our region on the services and technical assistance that our consortia provide. So I just wanted to say thank you so much for that.
And I will say that part of why we rely so heavily on our consortia is also a staffing disparity within EPA. So our next closest region has significantly less grants per tribal coordinator. We're almost double Region 9's grant load.
I would say that the history has a lot to say about why we're where we are. Alaska's tribes needed to collectivize their voices, to fight and be heard and address the huge changes that Angson and Nilka brought. And the consortia were a big part of that. Aleut League was what we were before we were APIA, and those political considerations were a big difference. I think the ongoing development of those consortia away from or out of those initial political needs also had a lot to do with agencies' lack of funding for to make meaningful programs in the individual tribes. So you needed to pool your money to make many agencies' money go far enough to do something with. And I'm grateful that the GAP Act didn't drive GAP funding to only be able to do that way. So we're very pleased for that. Thank you, EPA. And I'm sorry to have missed this in person because it sounds like a lot of EPA leadership made the long journey and dedicated their time and interest here. So thank you very much for that. Moving forward, our consortia are helping to fill the gaps and helping to try and maximize this generational infrastructure opportunity. We're trying to help our tribes do what they want to do, as well as bringing capacities that might not fit at the singular tribal level, might be something that has a regional scope, like our newly uh, resolved by our board of directors, a tribal emergency response program. So really, really excited to be bringing that kind of regional view to something that's an important topic and doesn't necessarily just fit under one tribe. Thanks.
Thank you all for that perspective. That was, you know, I think, Randy, I think that was a good reality check in a lot of ways, because we don't necessarily realize as a region how unique we are, because we don't often have the exposure to what the other regions might look like. So I think that's good perspective.
I was just going to add, you know, for the Nez Perce tribe, we've been involved with the U.S. Forest Service, their Good Neighbor Authority. We entered into a GNA agreement back in a couple years ago, but we've just been working through, you know, some of our program, the funding that we get through EPA. So a lot of the work that we do is for salmon, fish recovery, bringing some of that effort from what we do on our reservation to our ceded lands. So we have roughly 13.5 million acres that that belong to us. And so they're managed by the Forest Service. So we entered into this Good Neighbor Authority agreement with the Nez Perce Clearwater Forest. And so being able to have our EPA funded the Water Resource Division be able to take the same efforts that we do on the reservation and onto the Forest Service lands is a big, that's expanding our ability to influence the management on the U.S. Forest Service. And we're looking at from a, because we're in a, what they call more of a dry forest condition. So fire is always an ongoing part of our ecosystem, and that tribes depend upon fire. My ancestors depended on it for food systems, being able to have enough first foods each year. Fire has many uses, and so having to do those ethnographic history to rebuild our ability to put low intensity, low severity fires back on the landscape, so we can not have the big catastrophic fires, the mega fires that are now here that contribute, you know, carbon into the atmosphere. So that, you know, that's really where it's at. Wildfire is a big contributor to CO2. And so if you look at it from that standpoint, you got to look at how can you better manage get it back into a system where we once had it as a tribe. And I think we're learning, people want to learn about us. A lot of non-Nez Perce, non-Indians, they're wanting to learn more about our tribes and all the things that we had lost that's now back at the forefront, because that rationale to be able to be and make it useful again is right there. And so I think there's so much to be learned. We're utilizing one of the EJ grants through the Forest Service to do more of that ethno-history and the disparages between, you know, why tribes were not involved in management, you know. So it was always the counties, the states that always benefited from the Forest Service, but it was never the tribe, you know. So there's a story to be told, but we're trying to reconcile, you know, with the Forest Service to put us back as a co-steward. We say co-management, we don't say co-steward, but I mean, we're using the terminology that, you know, we want to be at the forefront with and being a leader with the the forest supervisor and the district rangers in making those decisions and helping us get salmon back, restoration happening, the forest conditions back into a normal, what would be not a normal, but something that is more livable. And I'll just leave it there.
So thinking about that, where have, and we've heard some examples here and there, but if anybody would like to expand on this, where have you felt that your consortium work has been able to be leveraged to make really big scale change? And I know ANTHC has some good examples, and I would really like to hear from Oxenia specifically about this. Like, where in your tenure, you've been around a little while, where have you seen sort of that leveraging create that big change?
Okay, I'm gonna take a step back a little bit because I was sitting here realizing that outside of Alaska, many people might not realize that ANTHC is the largest tribal health organization in the country. And it was formed in 1997, and we became owners of our own healthcare. And so that the work that in all of our different divisions, we have community health services that is kind of our preventative branch. And then we have the Division of Environmental Health and Engineering where we are housed, where we're really focusing on building up the infrastructure in communities around water and sewer projects, energy, you name it, solid waste. We're right there. And then we have the healthcare portion where we co-own and co-run the Alaska Native Medical Center, where a lot of our tribal communities come in for a higher level of healthcare. And going back to now the new question about where we've really felt like we've made an impact besides healthcare. More specifically, in our department, the Community Environment and Health Department, we have several programs that work directly with tribes across the state. We're one small group in our department. We focus on building up tribal capacity as far as environmental programs. We have an emergency preparedness program. We have people had met Bailey and Jaron here today in our contaminated sites program. And I'm trying to go office by office. And then we have our field service program that works really closely with Brian provides water operator training. And they do a lot of assessments in the clinics across the state. And then we have our Air and Healthy Homes program that is really focused on improving air in both indoor and outdoor air quality in our communities with different projects. I was thinking climate change all of a sudden too. It's all just rolling in my head. So yeah. And with the air, improving respiratory health is one big component of that program. And then we have our climate initiatives program that works really closely with a lot of our communities across the state. Like, if you hadn't heard, we recently released a unmet needs report where that really put into perspective a lot of the climate impacts that we're seeing across the state, not just in our coastal communities, but inland and in our interior communities, and then really guides all of the work that they're doing and encompasses all. So I think that our whole department really does make a huge impact. You mentioned the Leo program that we started back in 2011. And that was because some of our partners up in Kotzebue were seeing sick ring seals, and they wanted to know how that was going to impact food source and how that would impact health. And so we realized that we're completely all connected. And when we see that there's a need, our whole department tries to jump in and be able to help work towards solutions to those needs.
Yeah, I hope that you heard in some of that, that their work underpins our success with tribal gap programs across the state and 7 Generations training, the ATCOM conference. The last few years of the ATCOM conference has been wonderful in understanding the sort of where we are now. There's been a lot of tribal presentations over the last few years that have shown these huge successes that have come out of that work.
Just going to share a little bit about Fashion Nice program. We're 10 months into our job. In July of last year, we were assigned to a solid waste equipment purchase program. And at the beginning, it was approximately 60 communities that we were working with we were assigned to, and they were divided out between different different teams, and now we're down to 20 communities. And the beginning of the project, it was approximately $26 million that we are purchasing solid waste equipment for communities. On Monday, we did our first big purchase of a Summit number 6 burn unit, which was $120,000 that the community requested. So we've been busy, and we're really excited about this program, working directly with the tribes and the city.
Yeah, and I will say that you all are amazing partners for us in terms of being able to leverage your resources in your organization in order to sort of make those subawards out where we wouldn't be able to administer. We wouldn't be able to administer those large grants without your assistance. So, yeah.
I'd chime in to say I personally love getting the calls from our tribal environmental coordinators on technical assistance questions. I love the training. I love the regional efforts that we focus on. But what I'm definitely most proud of as our program and what I see across our region are the partnerships and collaborations that get even bigger projects done, even harder things to do, moving. And we love playing our little role in that and seeing our tribes so frequently take the leadership role and really help move everyone forward together. That's so exciting, and we're so proud of all the tribes doing such great work.
Who would like the last word?
We're not Consortia, so I can't speak for that. I just want to say thanks to all the consortiums though.
I have something to say about leveraging, and I appreciate the question. And I think that leveraging projects and partnerships is all very important, but I just wanted to offer some statistics that we just went through. I can't speak for all the consortia in Alaska, but I can say that we get a base funding amount through a contract from the Bureau of Indian Affairs. And we recently did an analysis of our annual operating budget to the money that comes in without competition. And I think it's safe to say that all of the consortia are highly competitive. We have very strong grant writers. We are constantly writing grants, and it's exhausting. But I will say that our recent analysis of our return on investment from our cognizant agency in the federal government was almost 5 to 1. So for every 1 to 5. So for every $1 that they give us as capacity building funding, we're able to leverage $5 in additional grants. And I just wanted to offer that, but say that it is exhausting, it's very hard, and keep up the good work. And a lot of that leveraged money, well, all of that leveraged money, because of our structure, because of our nonprofit structure, goes directly back to our communities, which is really important as well.
I would like to thank all of our panelists. If we could give them a great big round of applause. Thank you. Appreciate you all so much.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much, everyone online and everybody in person, for participating. Let's give one more round of applause to everybody, please. All right, for the people in the room, no worries. The next thing on the agenda is lunch, and it will lead into multiple closing ceremony events. So we'll be in here until the end of the day. And it will involve different grand prize drawings, some gratitude, some closing remarks, but we are going to start with lunch. Is there anyone that wants to give a blessing for lunch before we eat? Hey, Erin, I know you got in line first yesterday. You want to give us our blessing for lunch?
All right, if you can just stand, please. And pray in your own way if you need to. But I just want to, I'll pray the way I grew up. And I just want to give thanks to the Creator and ask for a blessing today for everybody that is here, all those that are online, all of our tribes, that all of us return home safe the way we found it. And I ask for a blessing upon the food that's going to nourish our body. In your name, amen.
All right, that starts us off for lunch. If you see an elder in line, please let them go ahead of you, but you are welcome to eat.